The Auburn Tigers take their third loss on the season in Coleman Coliseum, kind of underneath the lights. The final score 79-75. Our reactions to the score, the stats, and the storylines from the game, all that is coming up right now. War Eagle Auburn family and War Eagle E2C Network family, thank you so much for joining us. Whether you're watching live, whether you're watching on the replay, whether you're watching here on YouTube, on Facebook, Twitter, however you got here, whenever you got here, thank you so much for joining us and being part of our little family within the Auburn family. And I would also like to welcome the somehow seemingly existent Alabama basketball fan base that I know will be invading this stream live, and especially those comments after the fact on the replay. So welcome, you Roll Tide fans, and yeah, have your fun. It was a good win for you guys in Coleman Coliseum. We're going to talk about all that tonight. We're going to react to some things, and I'm sure there are some frustrations that want to be vented on the part of the Auburn faithful tonight. So we'll work through that as much as we can. If you can do a huge favor for us as we get started on the stream, smash the like button if you please would do that. That would be a humongous help if you feel like we've earned it. But also right now in the chat, we'd love to know who's here. Post where you're watching from, your city, your state. And if you're international, you can do that as well. That will help us out in a great way for getting this stream started off on a good note. So let's try to tackle this thing as you guys kind of get geared up, check in with us, start talking about some of your comments. I want to go ahead and kind of offer up some initial thoughts about the game. Taking a loss at Alabama is not a bad loss in any way, stretch of the imagination. We all knew that Alabama was a great basketball team. How great is still a question, and same question for Auburn. You know, when you take a loss, it's always time to reevaluate and see how good you actually are. Auburn just made it into the top 10. So it's a top 10 win for Alabama, a great resume builder for them, not on the road, but Auburn really would have liked to have continued the narrative that they have gotten better on the road, which I think based on their overall performance, you could probably say they still did. Not a terrible performance, not their best. Few things bounce a little bit differently here. Some calls go differently, and we're talking about a whole different ball game. So the lights went out literally twice. And of course, as we tweeted out, well, I did it on my personal account. I tweeted out, you can just hear the salivation of the Alabama beat writers as they concocted every single variance of the phrase "shot the lights out" on their articles after the game. So that I'm sure they're having a lot of fun with this evening. We got a lot of people checking in with us. We had Rise Life, Big Simp, Unbeaten Lake, Angela, Ethan, Kevin, Chris, Brian, Corey, all of that checking in with us here on this stream. So let's get into it, folks, and we'll try our best to get into making sense of everything. And thank you. There's so many people checking in. I'm not going to be able to give you all a shout out, but thank you guys for being here. So I kind of gave you my initial thoughts. Let's work through some of the things that you guys want to discuss tonight. Broom was a monster tonight. Absolutely he was. In a loss, it's always good to find the things, if there are some, that worked well for you. Broom was not a problem tonight. We'll look at his stat line in total. In fact, let me refresh my page here so I can get the thing all laid out nicely. Still hasn't updated all that much, but 25 points and 14 rebounds for Johni Broome, a double-double. He is 11 for 17 from the field, 1 for 2 from three-point land, made all his free throws, did foul out, and got 1 assist on the night. So this very much felt for me like a game earlier in the season, right? Where Auburn was looking very strong, but very much carried by Johni Broome, and was really wanting some others to step up. I would argue, based on how we've seen Auburn play over the last several games, and using this one to compare to and how successful they were, and maybe word it sometimes at the beginning of the season, that Auburn's better maybe when Johni Broome is not as dominant, meaning he doesn't have to be as dominant in the game, that we've got a few other guys stepping up tonight. And look, I'm not saying that anybody else didn't make contributions. We'll talk through that too. But he was the monster of the night, took over from the very get-go, had like a 6-7 minute quiet stretch to start off the second half, but we made our run during that time. So it's kind of one of those things you're going to obviously have some things you're upset about. Janai is definitely not one of the things tonight that we need to be upset about. David points out the obvious. Auburn was awful from the three-point shot tonight. Yeah, not a good look for them tonight. Overall, from three-point land, I would venture to say that one of the things that they most likely talked about when they were coming into this matchup in their scouting and everything was the fact that they were going to need to, one, keep Alabama from shooting well from three-point land, but also have to do decently. Tonight, they shoot 20% for Auburn, 5 for 25, and Alabama gets a nice 37% from the three-point arc tonight. So probably a little bit above average what most teams do for Alabama, but not at shooting the lights out from three-point land. But very, very low for Auburn tonight. In fact, when we get through talking about all the team stats here, we might find, hey, that's the stat of the night right there. We'll walk through it in just a little bit tonight. A lot of people giving Broom credit for what he did tonight. Definitely deserves that. Kevlar says, good comeback, but tough to beat a good team at their place nonetheless. I still like our chances for the regular season title. Still plenty on the line for Auburn. And of course, as Linda points out here, we'll return the favor in a few short weeks. So let the Bama fans dance on our grave right now. But be careful. Don't dance there too long because we might just reach up and grab you and pull you back down with us. Actually replace you. That's the goal, is put you back in the grave. I can imagine that the jungle right now is just amped for that return trip based on the results of this particular game. Our biggest weaknesses, free throws became the biggest killer. I would venture to say normally yes, and we'll talk about it in a little bit in more detail. But tonight, there were other issues that exceeded the free throws, because if you look at the percentage, decent, not to where I would like it to be, but decent. But at the end of the game, we missed some very crucial free throws that would have kept us within arm's reach of being able to mount a comeback. Really, the story of the night is that Auburn gave up a lead, kind of like the story of old, right? For some Auburn teams not too recent past, give up a huge lead and have to work their way back in. Normally, Auburn was not good enough offensively to get back to that point to even be within earshot, but to take a lead, this is a much different basketball team. So if you're sitting here tonight panicking over an Alabama loss, first of all, don't, because it's a good basketball team. It's at their place, hard to beat them there. And this is a team that has shown that some of the tendencies of the past, they don't do those as much anymore. Brian, thanks for checking in from the Great White North. It's a good loss. Just hate to see it's to Bama. Of course, doesn't it always just, it pains us a little bit to mention that in the same sentence. I manage a cemetery, never dance on a grave. Very nice, very nice, very nice. Okay. And if you guys notice, I'm skipping a lot of y'all's comments tonight just because of, we're having to keep up with all of them, but y'all keep them coming. We'll do them as best as we can. Let's see here. Do you think we got walked in with a big head and got caught slipping? I don't think so. I didn't see a team tonight that walked in there with a big head and acted like they just should walk out there and win, like Kentucky tends to do. I saw a team that ran into a little bit of a buzzsaw tonight. I mean, what's the kid's name? Grant, I think his name is. Let's look. Griffin. He is 5 for 10 tonight from three-point land, and he was like 4 for 4, I think, at one point. That's just hard to stop. I mean, if you're a team like that is going to be shooting like that at home from the three-point arc, that's just difficult to stop whether you walked in with a big head or not. The fact that Auburn was in position to potentially come back and win says a lot to what they faced and what they nearly overcame. And a lot of times, and what I appreciate about some prognosticators and stuff is they'll really look at the loss in context as opposed to just the box score. 75-79, Auburn loses to Alabama. Well, surely they didn't deserve to be a top 10 team. And that may be true now at this point. And I'd be okay with that. I'm not too worried about rankings. It's fun to talk about. They really don't matter. But that's not really the case here. This is an Auburn team that ran into an Alabama team that, in my opinion, it's just my opinion, don't have to agree with it. Bama fans, chill out for a second. That gave you their absolute best game tonight at home. And they had a hard time hanging on to it at the end. To me, if that's your best game at home, I'll take that. Worst loss under BP, Matt says. Okay. Not trying to make fun of you, Matt, but I've witnessed some much worse losses than that. Do you remember the Clemson in a national not national title game, NCAA tournament game, a couple other NCAA tournament exits that were pretty awful. Yeah, this is not the worst. No, not even by stretch of the imagination. Kevin thinks it should be a wake-up call. I guess my thought would be wake-up call from what? Because I don't think this team thought that they were unbeatable. Bruce has said as much to them and has really talked about them needing to improve in some areas. And so maybe that's what you mean by a wake-up call. All right. Just trying to see. We showed them a lot of fight. I agree. Too many turnovers now. All right. So I've covered a lot of what y'all have already talked about. You can keep the comments coming. We'll address a few more, but let's look at the stat line tonight. We've already talked about Janai. He's got 25 on the night, but here is how the rest of the scoring break down. Holloway with 2, Jalen Williams with 7, Chris Moore with 3, Denver Jones with 9, Katie Johnson with 8, Trey Donaldson with a nice 8 and a very timely 8 on that comeback in the second half. Chad Baker-Mazara with 11. Berman and Chaney Johnson don't get on the scoreboard, and Cardwell with 2 tonight. So most everybody contributed in the stat sheet, scoring-wise, most everybody. But you really didn't have someone outside of Chad Baker-Mazara, who really got a lot of his points from the free throw line, have a secondary great night next to Janai Broome, which is probably one of those things that was lacking tonight. So you can make a case. Is it the free throw at the end of the game? Is it the sloppiness? Is it the big-headedness, as some people said? Is it, Janai being the only one we really could rely upon tonight? It's a bunch of different cases, but to me, I think the way that this team is set up best to win is when one guy isn't just stealing the show. That doesn't mean that they can't be a 20-point scorer. It just means that with that 20-point score, we need another guy hitting 15, and then a third guy getting close to double digits, if not in double digits completely tonight. Jay says, I'm annoyed, Kyle. I'm annoyed. I understand. We are all annoyed. If you want to get further annoyed, just watch the comment section for this stream after this goes live, because the Bama fans, I haven't seen them popping here yet. Maybe y'all have seen some of them, but they love to come after the stream because it's kind of a coward move, and then drop their little RTs and stuff like that. Now, I understand everybody can't be here for a live stream. It's later tonight, but you just watch the amount that come in there. Let's see here. Jalen wasn't on tonight, and that hurt us. I agree that Jalen / somebody else not being on, kind of like I was saying, did hurt us tonight. Janai having to carry the load without a part 2 in terms of having a great game tonight really did hurt us. Whether it was Jalen, whether it was Katie, Aiden Holloway, somebody else. Dylan's been up there a few nights tonight in this season to have one of those type of games. So I know we don't really want to talk about players of the game, but it's going to be Janai Broome. If you probably give it to someone else, it's probably going to be Denver Jones tonight with 9 points. I just kind of slipped past that. We've been really needing him to step up and be a little bit more of a threat to score, especially as a starter. And he did that a little bit tonight, making all his free throws, 1 3-pointer, and then 3 for 8 from the field in total. So that's all your individual stats tonight. Let's look at some of the team stats. First, let's see if you guys have anything else out there. Alabama better be ready to fear the most annoying and loudest student section in college basketball. Yeah, they're going to get it in tenfold when it comes back around. Oh, we got a super chat, Brian. Thank you so much. You're too kind. Win or lose, it's always great to be an Auburn Tiger. Thank you so much. With a great sentiment behind the super chat. Very much appreciated. Kevin says we have bigger aspirations than Alabama. You mean like where there's Super Bowl or something like that? Jalen had three great games in a row. Can't fault him if he has an off night. I agree, which is why it's not one person's fault tonight for not being that secondary guy alongside. Oh, no, the static is back. All right, well, here's what we're going to do. Thank you for letting me know as we'll do the last part of the show this way. Thanks. That super chat's going to go to fixing the static. We're going to switch over here. Hang on 1 second. We're just going to go to regular audio. Mic check 1 2. All right. How does that sound, everybody? Give me a thumbs up, thumbs down if the static is gone. If it's not, we'll bring the microphone back and just use it. Oh, with another super chat. Thank you so much. War Eagle till they put me in the ground. You guys are too generous and too kind. Thank you so much. Better. Okay. All right. We're good now. All right. While the static is gone, the sound quality may have dropped down because we're not on the microphone, as you see. In fact, let me move it out of the shot so it doesn't look like I'm a guy who doesn't know how to use a microphone. Let's talk about team stats tonight. We'll look at shooting percentage tonight. Ironically, Auburn shoots better on the night overall, 42% to Alabama's 38%, but really brought down by that 3-point percentage. It's a 20% to 37% difference, so a 17 percentage differential there. To me, that's the story of the night. If Alabama doesn't shoot the way they did for the 3-point arc, this is a much different game. And when I say much different game, I think Auburn probably wins by 8, 9, close to double digits if they don't shoot with the ferocity that they did. They made 11 3-pointers tonight. Let's say they make about 7 of those. This is probably a much different game in terms of momentum swings and stuff like that. Rest of the stats, the ones that we love to talk about here. Free throws, 78% for Auburn, not bad, but not at my benchmark of 80%. So that's a knock on them tonight, and they do lose in that category to Alabama. Turnovers tonight, 11 for Auburn, 14 for Alabama. So Alabama's more sloppy at home, and we've had much sloppier games than that. Now, I think the sloppiness came at very inopportune times tonight, which really set them up to make some of the runs that they had tonight. So that's unfortunate, but Auburn wins in that category. Rebounds tonight, Alabama gets the win 41-46, but not a big differential there. So when you look at those 3 things that we focus on a lot, yes, Alabama wins 2 out of the 3 categories, but the differential really isn't that big. To me, so far, what I see is the 3-point percentage, which is why I stand by the statement saying that if they don't shoot with the ferocity with which they did tonight, they lose the game, and by a good enough margin. Other stats to keep in mind tonight. Let's see if there's anything else that sticks out to us. Pretty even down the way. Second chance points, bench points is pretty even tonight, and a little bit lower for Auburn than it's been in the past with only 29 tonight. Points in the paint, pretty even, 38 for Auburn in their favor. Fast break tonight is a little bit more in the favor of Alabama, which is a bit of a swap there. But defensively, Auburn wins all of those categories, and Alabama shared the ball 11-13, slightly better tonight. Only 2 times tied and only 2 lead changes in a ferocious game tonight. Linda asks, what about fouls? Let's look at the fouls total. 20 total personal fouls for Auburn tonight, 19 personal fouls for Alabama, including a team technical and 2 and a personal technical by Sears as well. So pretty evenly called game in terms of the numbers. Auburn fans are going to say no. Alabama fans are going to say no. It is what it is. It's a rivalry. Kaylee says we had some troubles with foul trouble, but what bothered me the most was the missed free throws. And I understand that, but to me, the missed free throws at the inopportune times more than saying that they didn't shoot the free throw ball well tonight. There we go. Somebody with a good vibes tonight. WT says Holloway impresses me every game I see him in. He does not look like a freshman. He plays like a junior or a senior. I'm actually going to differ with you a little bit here at WT. And I know there's a conversation, and I saw some earlier comments in the chat about this, about I think Trey should start over Holloway. Again, folks, let me just clear this whole thing up for you. Outside of Bruce changing his mind, he don't need to change a dang thing with the lineup. In fact, I was kind of interested that he didn't do a full platoon change at the first sub of the game. He brought in Katie, Chad, and Cheney, and left in Janai and Aiden. And I was like, interesting, because we've been doing so well with those groups playing together. I don't know why he decided to change it up, other than maybe he felt that at that point, Aiden and Janai were really cooking together, and you want to keep them in the game. You know, hindsight's 2020. You can't really blame that on the loss of the game. But to me, this whole conversation about just because I see a trend that this kid's not scoring as much as he needs to, that he should be starting, that's not good basketball sense. But I think that Aiden at times does show his youth, not as much as you would think he would, which is a testament to the phenom that he is. But I sure love having Trey on this team, because I can count on him to steady the course when we need it to. Total team rebounds, we already talked about that. That was 41-46 in Alabama's favor. We were down at the half. We were down 14 at the half, and we lost by 4, so we won the second half by 10 points. That's one way to narrow that down. We just needed to have kept it closer in the first half. I tend to agree with this, because to me, what we've talked about in the past with Auburn basketball is if they get themselves down too far, they usually don't have the offense to come back within earshot, much less take a lead. And they did that tonight. So that should be impressive to you tonight. Daggum, she says. People are seriously overacting to this loss, saying we have a losing culture. We'll never win clutch games. We will be fine. It hurts because it's the Bama, but I believe in this team. So let me help you all understand something. The second that you see somebody make a comment like that on social media, especially on X/Twitter, you need to go ahead. There's a little button up there. It's like you go up and bring down the drop-down box, and it says mute. Mute the heck out of them. They have no clue what they're talking about. They are reacting to one loss in emotion and not what this team is makeup as a whole. You know this too, Devin. I'm not speaking it to you. I'm just talking about it in general. The Coleman Toilet Bowl jinx strikes again. Baffling. We'll stomp them in Neville. War Eagle from Lebanon. Thanks for checking in, Carrie. Yeah, it's going to be a much different game for them. And yeah, so lots of people like to get on the hype train when, you know, we start getting the top 10, and then they're not really, I want to say true basketball fans, because that sounds snobbish, but they're not as astute of basketball fans. They are more, you know, hype train basketball fans. All right, so we are about 23 minutes in this stream. We try to keep them under about 30 minutes. Ooh, good question. I'll talk about that in a second. And let us, we'll cover anything else that you don't want to, or that we haven't discussed from this game here. But let me go ahead and give you the rundown of what to expect next from us. If you haven't already heard, we do have a post-game stream coming up for Mississippi State, a road game. Got to get a road win here, especially after this one. Need to bounce back, so join us for that after the Mississippi State game. We will also have Sunday evening, episode 64 of the Auburn Experience podcast. Don't miss that. I got another recruit video coming out for you guys this week too. So basically, if you're not following us everywhere, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, X, Facebook, all the stuff. If you're not, all the things you need to be. In fact, if some of you want to take your support of us to the next level, you might consider here on YouTube hitting the join button down there below. All it does is cost $1 a month to be a part of it. You get a little icon next to your name. You have access to certain emojis in the chat. And you will get an invitation to our Discord where you can hang out with a bunch of us over there and be part of a cool little family within the Auburn family. But you're already part of the best little family within the Auburn family. Those are some options for you out there. All right. If you haven't, do smash the like button. As we wind down the show here, let's get some of your commentary that we haven't talked about yet. Was Austin at the game? Brian, great question. And he revealed on last week's The Auburn Experience podcast that he would be there. I believe he was. I meant to check in with him. Forgot to. If you remember, he said that every time he goes, we lose, and I begged him not to go. Here we sit. So I think we all know the real culprit tonight. In fact, I'm pretty sure he's the one that cut the lights at Coleman Coliseum. Corey says that Bama won't be in the tournament. They play like this, they'll be in the tournament. They may not be very high, but they'll be in the tournament. Kevlar, one thing, Coleman is still the ugliest arena in the league. Absolutely not. It is very rare that I defend Alabama in any way, but I will not even let them be humiliated as that with that title that belongs to Vanderbilt's Memorial Coliseum. Not going to get on that tonight, but you know if you know. Blake says, I'm glad we got a chance to face some adversity tonight. We handled it fairly well against our biggest rival. Yes, I agree with that. I think tonight was going to be a nice stepping stone of some people will say like a reality check. I don't necessarily see it as a reality check. I just see it as facing hardship and what do you do in response, like you were talking about, because you're going to have that happen in the NCAA tournament, right? Auburn's pretty much a lock for that at this moment. And you're going to get down at times. What do you do? How are you going to make the comeback happen? Especially, in a place like on the road. It's much different when you make a comeback at home. That's in your favor. When you do it on the road, that's even more impressive. We'll see. How do you feel about not having a quad one win? Is that something to watch? Was the Arkansas win not quad one? Was that quad two? I thought that was a quad one. I could be wrong. Not really worried about it at this moment. And I think that's a good explanation, if that is true, with why it took so long Auburn to get into the top 10, which most people were like, why isn't this happening? Well, there's a lot of these metrics people look at when they make the decisions on how they vote. That probably is a reason for that. So yeah, I mean, obviously, if they only have one or if they have none, it's not a concern because their whole resume is going to show that they have performed well enough to be in the tournament. Could not make free throws or threes. Probably a little bit better in this game. Maybe. I don't know. It's all Austin's fault. We're going to remind him of that on the show this week. Let's see here. Ooh, I got real behind in chat here. Tied for the ugliest arena. No, look, I am not going to let anybody take the ugliest arena title from Vanderbilt, not even Alabama. As much as I love it, Vanderbilt. Every day and twice on Sunday. Better to have a game like this in January than in March. Very, very true. Very, very, very true. Do I think we'll win a national championship in men's basketball in the near future? I hope so. It's really hard to do. Really hard to do. I think we will be back in the Elite Eight, if not this year, in coming years. But I hope that a Final Four is in our future. I feel more confident about that than I have of recent, but we shall see. No moral victories, but we showed fight. I think that needs to be the theme of the night. Do not take this as a moral victory. Just take this as a sign that this team is able to manage adversity. But sometimes you just kind of bite yourself in the you-know-what and can't make a full comeback tonight. All right, folks. We are just about to hit 30 minutes. I want to thank you guys for being here, hanging out with us, being part of our little family within the Auburn family, and smashing the like button, all those good things. I know you are frustrated. I get it, but at the same time, your team showed fight tonight, 79-75. The Tigers fall in Coleman Coliseum with a return trip coming for Alabama very shortly after. I can imagine what it's going to be like for them when they arrive with the jungle in tow. So with that being said, folks, thanks for being here and hanging out with me tonight, even in a loss. Until I talk to you again, War Eagle.